WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. I get a little extra pep in my step this week for lots of reasons. Obviously, 70 degrees out, right? And what a week. Like, after all of this plague and all the Lamar, it's finally like springtime. We're doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour presented by the Maryland Lottery. I'll be giving away the old schoolers. It is the 50th anniversary, and I'm starting in my homeland. I'm going to be in Costas on Wednesday in the afternoon. Then it's opening day all day Thursday, and I'm not doing anything. We used to broadcast live, ISDN lines, people kicking it. By the way, Stacy Keebler was our intern many years ago for live broadcast, so congratulations to her for going into WWE Hall of Fame at WrestleMania. And Dennis is going to be a part of this. But Dennis, this is amazing because Friday I'm at Fadley's, and I know you grew up down in Lexington Market with your family going down there. And the old market might be the last time I ever go into the old market, right? I don't really remember the last time I ever walked into the old Baltimore Civic Center, now Royal Farms Arena, First Mariner, whatever you want to call it. I didn't walk out of there and think I'm never going to see it the same way again. But I'm going to walk in there Friday night for Springsteen. I'm going to Eagles on Saturday, and I'm going to see the building for the first time in my life in a different way. And I love the old building. Frank Remish can feel how he wants about me, but I always love that building. I've always worshiped that building. It's going to be I might cry. I don't know. I mean, it may be very emotional for me, my father, and all of the wild amount of events that I ever went to there and memories that I have there and celebrities. I sat in a room with Danny DeVito there for an hour and hit him out at a Eddie Murphy concert on the Raw tour and talked to Danny DeVito for an hour, me, him, and John Wright. Like, I have memories in that building that I just and so this is a special week. And the Masters is all day Sunday. I get to recuperate and sit around all day and eat shrimp salad and watch the Masters. So, Dennis, how are you? How's your week, man?
Week's been fantastic, and you just took me down memory lane. Eddie Murphy's Raw. I was there for one of the shows, of course, and there for all the skipjack games. And
were you there for Sean Cassidy? That was my first concert, Sean Cassidy.
Was not there for Sean Cassidy, but I was there for the Baltimore Blast games and wrestling twice a month with my $7 ticket. A lot of fun there. My dad and I going there to the wrestling shows. A lot
what was your first wrestling match? Give me your first wrestling match. Was it Bruno?
Man. It was Bruno. It was Bruno against one of the Valiant brothers.
Really? So it was before me then. My first ever match was Bruno and Stan Stasiak in March of 1977. And then the next month, I was there when Bruno was pinned by superstar Billy Graham, feet on the ropes, the tie-dye, the blood, all of that, right? April 30th, 1977. Remember it like Mary Lou Henner. And so like when I go to that, like that's not even the first memories. I was at Harlem Globetrotters. I was at Clippers games. I met Howard Mash. He threw the S away because it stood for salt. I went to, I love the arena. My dad taking me there every time I ever went as a boy for the circus. It was always special. I saw the Sugar Hill Gang there. Master G's coming on the show soon, but I saw the Sugar Hill Gang there. Mr. Pete snuck me in. So like I love my memories of the place, but to walk into that space and have it be different than it's ever been in my whole life, I don't know that there's anything that's going to be quite like that. Because I think about Memorial Stadium, and I got Memorial Stadium, but it was either baseball or football. I went to one soccer game there. My dad took me. I barely remember it. But, I mean, the arena, there were graduations there, right? Like
there were. Yeah.
Bullets games. I went to Bullets. I went to Capitals games there. Like just Blast games. So many. I went to indoor lacrosse. So, I mean, it's as a multi-purpose facility, it is a place that we've peed upon for all these years, and it's not good enough. It's old. We're never getting an NHL. Like all of that. This is a renaissance for the city, Dan.
Oh, it is. I can't tell you how many times I walked from Lexington Market to the Civic Center. Back one time we had a cooking demonstration out there. It was us and it was Fadley's. Bill Devine stood right next to each other cooking up food. And the tie-in with us and Fadley's was that Fadley's, we were the next stall right below Fadley's with Mount Olympus. My dad and I serving up gyros and Greek salads and spanakopita and tiropitas and all the good stuff. So we were there. I mean, we were neighbors with Fadley's. All of their employees used to come and have breakfast at my place. They didn't serve breakfast, of course, but we did. So we have a lot of history with the with the family.
You should come down Friday and do the show with me one day. That you
Yeah,
should sit in that market one last
man.
time and do a segment with me, man.
I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. I spent 6 years of my youth in that market, working 6 to 6, 6 days a week.
Last chance. I didn't get that chance at the arena. And I would also say for me, I want to give a shout out to Fadley's. I'm going to go there for a crab cake before the game Thursday. So it's
Yeah.
my first beer. I'm going to park my car there. I'm going to walk the couple of blocks down. But I almost went to see Lewis Black the other night down at the Hippodrome. I mean, there are things about downtown and this arena, whether it's Anita Baker and Janet Jackson, if that's your flavor, and I love them both and have seen them both multiple times, or whether it's Joan Jett and Bryan Adams, or whether it's John Mayer, or whether it's Adam Sandler later this month, the Eagles this weekend, Blink 182, like for my kid. So like having that down there is the anchor for good things to happen and for people and for jobs and for opportunities and for dining and for making it what it's been most of our life. So I see this as a cornerstone of that renaissance of, yeah, well, I was excited when Camden Yards opened. Yeah, I was excited when the stadium opened and Harbor Place. This is a new arena this is a place I've been going my whole life and feeling like it was somehow a subpar experience, although I never felt that way. I love the French fries. I love the events. I was there for the last time the Eagles were there. I was there the last two times Springsteen came in. So I'm a fan, but what they've done to it and what it's going to be for the next 20 or 30 years, I've been waiting my whole life for this, Dan. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. A lot of things are happening. I mean, I missed Chris Rock being down at the Hippodrome. I don't know how I missed that when I saw the special on Netflix that was streamed live, and that was a really good show too.
You know what I said to my wife? We watched the first 20 minutes of it. She and I were in a mood where we needed a laugh, right?
Yeah.
And this was like last weekend. She's got all that Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff. I barely got cable, right? So she hooks it all up, and we went about 15 minutes into it, and I didn't laugh. And it's not that I like blue humor. I'm a Dice Clay guy. I'm a Lewis Black. I'm from Dundalk. I like it turned up. I like that. I prefer that to Cosby, quite frankly. And I had Mickey Coachella on the last time. Well, 2 times ago I was at Costas. Mickey came and did an hour with me, right? And you're laughing. I say Mickey and you laugh. Why do you laugh when I say Mickey?
Hey, who doesn't laugh? If you don't laugh when you hear that name, Mickey Coachella, then there's something wrong with you.
Right. So Mickey's been my friend for 35 years. We're in the Hammer. I got to make a joke about him in the Hammerjacks movie. So I was so pleased. I said Mickey was backstage with me and Hammerjacks. This is before he was funny. I got that into the movie. So Mickey's telling me that it's different for him in a place in Parkville telling jokes that may be off color, F-bomb, whatever it would be, that people look at each other now at a theater and wonder if it's okay to laugh. Gotcha. And I thought this with my wife watching just she and I, TV, we're allowed to laugh, make a joke, make an off-color joke amongst each other, that nobody's listening, nobody's watching as to whether I laughed at that Will Smith joke or whether I'm on Jada's side or whether that's too black, too white, too street, not funny, about the Polish people. Don't mess with my Venezuelans. I don't want any Latin jokes, So no Greek jokes on you, So like, like all of that, it becomes harder, I think, to laugh. And I think post-plague, I need a day with Oriole baseball. I need to wear orange. I need a night with Springsteen. I need a night in a new arena and feel like something new's happening. I need to go to the old Lexington Market to see the new Lexington Market. And I think there's a lot of transition in life. I had the transition of seeing your vehicles that look like they're made in 1977. And my wife's like, I want one of those heritage vehicles,
Hey, guess who's going to opening day this year? You'll never guess. I got birthday tickets.
Are you going to see the Yankees? Is this something about the Yankees or no?
It's not the Yankees. I was just treated to opening day, and I can't tell you the last time, because of my business commitments and family obligations, the last time that I went to opening day. But guess what? Opening day, the weather seems kind of funky, but 77 degrees, 63% chance of rain, but I'll be there.
Something magic happens every time you go. Dennis Koulatsos is here. He sells cars. I'm wearing my Coons gear. So I'm going to have a little fun. I'm wearing my red shirt today. And, I've been doing show and tell. And, since Chad Steele took my tickets away and there's $3,500 I didn't have to give the Ravens last year, I wind up having $800 in my account because, there's this and that. And, I started collecting these belt buckles, and then I started with the Oiler thing, right? You know
Mhm.
this. You saw my Warren, and I'm cheap. You know this, right? I'm the
Frugal.
Jack Luskin.
You're frugal.
Well, I mean, Leonard Raskin appreciates that I'm saving my money more wisely in my 50s than I did in my 40s when I gave it all to my employees. So, and this, by the way, I'm going to use this crab mallet over Costas. So I got the Warren Moon jersey, and now Houston Oilers is in my search along with vintage rock belt buckles, right? So, and some of this stuff is way cheaper than I thought. Now, Dennis, I'm old school. This isn't what an old fart I am. I went to see Springsteen in Houston last month, and I went to Austin. And I stayed right near the college campus, near all the old vintage places. And I've been to Houston many times. And the vintage areas where all the good coffee stores are and the good brunch places on Westheimer in Houston. And I went down there thinking I was going to find old Houston Oiler vintage stuff. I only saw one Oiler piece anywhere. It was an overpriced, ugly thing that was in the window that you might have bought as a novelty. It was like a late 80s. It was an ugly piece. And I didn't buy it. It wasn't my size. I saw rock and roll stuff. I saw more belt buckles than I saw Oiler stuff. But you
Mhm.
go on the internet and you can get anything. So I got the Warren Moon white. It's legitimate from like the 90s. It's a little stained. It fits me. I paid $35 for it. Dude wanted 60. I waited. You would have bought it for 60. You told me to buy it. I dickered. So
Don't
the
lose it.
next thing I saw the Earl Campbell jersey. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to get this one day. I'm going to bust it out on Dennis and I'm going to wear it. And it was $60 and I offered the guy 30 or 40. He said no, whatever. But then I looked further down and I wanted a blue Oiler jersey, right?
Gotta have
Because
a baby blue. That's what I have. I have a baby blue Earl Campbell jersey.
so this thing pops up and it turns out it's a small, which I felt like would be my size. It's a Mitchell and Ness throwback with the tag on it. So I thought, is this thing made in some Chinese sweatshop? Is it going to come in the wrong blue? Is it going to come in some funky Lansdowne blue that's not going to
Right?
look like real Oiler blue? And I
Sure.
looked on the back of it and it said it was a number 7 jersey and it said
Ah,
Pastorini, right?
Dante.
So there's no girl like your first. You know this, right? Like Dante was there before or Campbell was there, right?
He was.
So this jersey's up and it was like $60 or $50 and it looked like it might have been worn, but I didn't know. And I clicked on it and I offered like 30. And the next thing you know, I'm out to dinner with my wife. We were at the Beaumont last week, and I looked down on my phone, and it said order confirmed. And I'm like, dude, took $30 for the Pastorini
Okay.
jersey. So like, I don't even care if it stinks. It came. It's brand new. It's
Huh.
legitimate. Like, look at
Really?
this thing. Look
Oh
at this
wow.
thing. Look
Yeah.
at this thing. Right.
That's
So
the
it
real deal.
fits me. It's brand new in the bag. It's Mitchell and Ness. It's legitimate. It's not sweatshoppy. It's probably been
Wow. It's a
sitting in a
throwback.
closet for 15 years since they made them. And
Love it.
this one just didn't sell because it's small. But
Okay.
it's patched and lettered. This is legitimate,
Ah,
right?
love it.
It's raised letters. I pay 30. You can't get a Ray Lewis one. I said,
That's a
where do I get
deal,
a
man.
Walter Payton one? Where
That's a
where
deal. That's fantastic, Ness.
So,
That's a
so
great,
I'm
great
having
looking jersey.
fun, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
there you go.
I'm going to wear this to beer barbecue bourbon. I'm going to wear this to
Yeah.
Cygnus Day or something. I'm just going to have fun with it. And it nostalgia and your heritage line of cars and things we used to have. And probably the reason I almost made you cry in this segment is because you're thinking about that Fadley's crab cake and you can still eat it and you can still go in the market. I can't
Oh,
go to the Astrodome, but I did watch women's college basketball and I watched the men's this weekend and I saw the Astrodome. And
yeah,
it's like it looks like an eggshell next to Reliance Stadium and stuff. This has
it
been a
does.
great week for basketball. And I know you have someone special in your life that plays softball, women's softball. I watched the
Yeah.
women's basketball this weekend
It was
and
fantastic. It was great.
this girl from Randallstown, which I wouldn't advise the face thing. I thought that was a bad look for her. I really did. And
Well, in the moment, but I'm not going to criticize her. I mean, Kate and Clark did the same thing. Not as much, but she was caught up in a moment. She was hyped, and hey, this is it was just great for women's basketball. Just the whole storyline.
I
It
wish the
wasn't.
game
It
were
wasn't.
better. I wish the game had come down to
Yeah, the
one
game.
shot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but this was had some bird magic overtones to it for a lot of different reasons. So it was very compelling. It was compelling. I'm sure the viewership was through the roof nationwide. Had to
Yeah,
be.
and it feels like they've made the women matter in a way. And I said this to my wife, and my wife thought I was being disrespectful. And I'm like, hold on, like don't I said don't play that ish with me. I got in the car and drove an hour 5 nights a week to cover girls basketball in 1987, 88, 89, 90. It's what I did. Amy Mallon was player of the year. She got a scholarship to Richmond. Dave Greenberg. It's how I met Bobby Nick. I met
Mhm.
Bobby Nick walking into Wild Lake High School to write about his women's basketball team in 1987. He played a four corner. He talked about Dean Smith. This is before he was crazy Bobby Nick, DJ guy on my show. The late great Bobby Nick sat in my section for 25 years in section 513. He was never the same when we lost him. Never has been the same. Never will be the same for me. But college basketball and high school, like I remember talking to Breezy Bishop. Mike Faraball sent me down there. Kathy
Yeah.
Frazier sent me when I like a Cub reporter to see it grown up 35 years later and to see the crazy LSU lady run, who I remember as a player at Louisiana Tech, like
Yeah.
running around like Ric Flair. Like
Yeah.
it was
Kim Murkey.
like the honky tonk honky like Jimmy who's the guy with the tennis racket, Jim Cornette. It was like
Oh, Jim
professional
Cornette.
wrestling.
Yes,
Like
yes. I mean, I love
literally.
her outfits, but I mean, we need stuff like that. It's what makes it entertaining.
My wife thought it was like my wife got foul with me when I'm like, this is like pro bowling. I said, she looks like Pete Weber and my buddy Danny Wiseman. She's like, you're insulting him. I said, no, I'm not insulting them. I said, these girls hate each other. And the hairs are all done up, and the girls have got their lashes
Oh my
going,
God, it's
and they're doing
crazy.
face taunts, and they're
It's
punching
crazy.
each other in the handshake lines like
Yes,
hockey
yes,
players. And
yes.
and I'm like, this is gonna sell. Like
It
women,
is.
this is a good game, and it's a style of basketball that, no offense to old white guys like you and me, but the Bob Cousy below the basket, shooting the ball, three
It's
points,
great. It's a
the
great
things we love
brand.
about Steph Curry are the things we love about women's basketball. So I
Yeah,
want to give a
women.
shout out to women's basketball this week.
Listen, women's basketball, women's softball, they're a lot of fun to watch. They really are. A lot of times they're faster paced than the men's games, and they're very skilled, as we saw it in the Final Four with the women's. Those girls can play. I mean, they're no joke.
I can't believe I've done 20 minutes. We've done Dan Pastorini. We've done women's sport. Hold on, I'm not done.
I
We've
know where
done
you're going with this.
arenas. We've
I know
made
where
you
you're going with it.
cry. We've done all of this stuff. And you said faster paced. Faster paced.
Yes,
Watch baseball over the weekend,
faster
right?
paced. I did. I watched a couple of games. I like the faster pace. Yeah, I think it's great.
So it's even luring you back to the stadium that the game drinking starts at 10 a.m. The game starts at 3:05, and by 5:45 we might be stuck in traffic, getting the hell out of there, and thinking about Springsteen.
We might be, and again, look, a lot of things, a lot of great things. How great is life these days, Nestor? I mean, a lot of good things. I mean, I know there's some negativity out there; it's always there, but a lot of great things happening, particularly in the world of sports.
Well, when you're sitting at the stadium eating an overpriced hot dog, drinking an overpriced beer, beverage of your choice, wherever it is, getting all that food they bragged about last week on all the television shows.
Yeah.
John's out in front of this, by the way. Little John Angelos he's speaking now.
Oh,
He's meeting the. Have you seen this? I mean, it's not
I've
good that
seen
he's
them.
speaking
I know.
at
I know.
all. I mean,
I
talk
saw
about
him next to.
he
Yeah,
needs a PR director more than the Ravens do. Like seriously, at this point,
man.
to get out in front of what their message could be and should be to every Dennis Koulatsos and every Nestor Aparicio about Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson. And I've heard more from him in
Hey,
4 days than I've heard from his old man in 3 decades.
Angelos needs a publicist. Lamar needs an agent. I guess everybody needs something in this world that they're not aware of that they should have in their lives, right?
Well, I mean, you and I should have a baseball game in our lives or a crab cake at some point this
Yeah.
week. It is springtime. It's coming out party. Tell me what's going on at Coons Baltimore 4 because my friends at Window Nation, they had done the 5 year 0%, and then in March they cut it back to 2, and now in April it's 5 years 0% again. That I think a lot of businesses are seeing where we are with inflation and things like that, and I think the car industry, along with mortgages, the next thing to go is the car industry to say inflation and percentage rates really affects things and how you can get somebody into a vehicle of their choice.
Yeah, they really do, Nestor. The cost of borrowing money has skyrocketed. So Ford Motor Credit, they've stepped up. We've got some 0%, some 2.9% on most of our model lines, and we have inventory. We have about 250 brand new cars, trucks, and SUVs in stock. We have close to 200 pre-loved vehicles, and we're cutting deals. It's a very competitive environment. It continues to be, and our customers, a lot of our repeat referral business, everyone's benefiting as a result of it.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll get Dennis back in here on Thursday. He's magically going to be on the radio and at the baseball game.
We can't give away our secrets.
Do
The
the
secret
magic of
sauce.
radio. It's what we do around here. He'll also be here on Sunday mornings, as he always is, from 8 until noon, doing the Sunday Sports Voice and driving you home on Thursday afternoon. And I saved it to the end. You see how I did this? It's like sort of like Zeppelin saving Stairway to Heaven, or Bruce
Yeah,
saving Born to Run and Glory Days for the encores he'll
come
do.
on.
The Eagles are going to save Life in the Fast Lane. No, actually, they're not. They're going to play that in the main set. But Desperado, they'll play at the end. So give me the Lamar thing, and where, like, are you still, you and I have been the most that he's going to play somewhere else. As we get closer up on this draft thing, I start to think, is Miami or Tampa really in play after the draft? Is that, I haven't done all the capology and all the, but
Yeah.
are the Ravens of the mindset that he really can come back and play? Does John really want, we're now at, do they want him back? And would they welcome him back? And does it just have to end? I don't know any of that, but we're about to find out, because this is really, it's gotten way uglier than you and I probably even could have predicted it would have gotten in
All right,
October.
you're
I
gonna
wouldn't have
like
told
this.
you in October there was going to be a press conference like the one last week.
You're gonna like this one, Nestor. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but Cam Newton. Now the rumor is they're going to bring in Cam Newton to compete with Lamar Jackson for the starting job. You can't script this any better than the recent WWE WrestleMania that we just watched over the weekend, right? Can you imagine Cam Newton in training camp? I can't, but at this point, I'm thinking the organization is praying a team like the Colts will, after the draft, off from 2 firsts, 24 and 25, and maybe a play or two to lure Lamar Jackson away from Baltimore, which I think they would welcome at this point. That's what I
Well,
think.
so it's fascinating. We get together twice a week, and once a week on your show, once a week, and the winds change a little bit, right? And the thing that's really occurred to me over the last week and a half now is how the whole thing's gotten off the rails for the off season, for everything that they would want to do in Jupiter in any
Of
normal
course.
year, to say, we have this much money, we have this many draft picks, how are we going to use our capital? We're going to lose a lineman, we're going to re-sign somebody. But sitting here in the middle of April as opening day is coming and the draft's up and the Masters, and here we are. The draft situation is bleak for what they have. They have a pissed off quarterback who won't come to work.
Mm-hmm.
They have no real good options. It's not like they're fighting amongst any option at this point. The first offer will be the only offer, or the best offer. It's not pitting offers anymore. Like, all of the things that may have played out in the minds of us or Twitter or even them in January to say, where might we be? Well, we might be with Nelson Aguilar. Campbell's gone. Peters is next out the door. How are we going to get players around here? Who are we going to draft? We're trying to deal out of the first round because we need more picks. Like, we don't have no money. This is not, they like to be well designed, and Steve would like to say we run our business to be competitive every year. And Luke brought this up, and he quoted the great Bo Schembechler, which is, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. They got worse this offseason, and I don't know how they're going to sit up in September. And I know Ozzie would always say, we don't have to play till September. I don't know how they're going to put a better team on the field in September. And they weren't great last year. They were fine. They were okay on their best day. But, we were talking about dealing Patrick Queen a couple of weeks ago. He might be their fourth or fifth best player at this point, and they better keep some good football players here because they got to go play this year.
You know what I found fascinating, Nestor, is the Cots is just like Ozzie. They like to get into the draft without having to fill holes. That's why they like to draft the best player available.
And we
They
could
like
go
to
play
fill
right now
themselves.
if we had to, right? That's the
Yeah,
line,
and
right?
so what I found fascinating was having a huge hole at cornerback and wide receiver that they offered Darius Slay a 3-year, $42 million contract with 23 of it guaranteed. Their plan was to have him play opposite of Marlon Humphrey. Obviously, that didn't happen. Slay stayed. The Eagles matched the deal. I mean, he remained with the Eagles, but it's how did they come up with that money? That's my question. I know they always can, but it was fascinating to come up with $42 million for a cornerback, and they can't dress the wide receiver position.
Well, the other side of that would be for them. Baker Mayfield said he turned them down. Darius Slay's turned them down. I wrote a headline that, the Bleeding Hearts. Hold on, dude. Hayden Hurst, ask out. Orlando Brown, ask out. Hollywood Brown, all the Browns, James Brown, Doo-doo Brown. They all ask out, right? Lamar Jackson has now publicly issued them a middle finger and asked out, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I know I
but
forgot to, Chuck Clark asked out,
but
right? So
they've always been that way. They've always been that way. They're not for everyone. They've had players in the past ask out and have accommodated them. They just haven't gone public with it. But look, they can't keep everybody, and all these players you just mentioned, they've asked out for different reasons. Hayden Hurst wanted more targets. He was tired of Lamar locking in
but
on
this used to be a
Mark
place you
Andrews.
thought you could come and win a championship, and you felt that way.
You
Calais
still
Campbell,
can. Oh, Calais Campbell signed with the Falcons. What does that tell us? Are the Falcons going to win the Super Bowl? No. He got paid.
make a case for me right now in April that the Ravens could win a Super Bowl next February.
They're well coached. They have a good offensive line. They have a good running game. They have a good defense. They have good special teams. If they can get some solid quarterback play, yeah, they can get there.
Okay, all right. I mean,
They have pieces.
I mean, from an agent standpoint of steering a player to someplace as opposed to away from someplace and having players ask out of here, it's just smelling different these days.
Well,
It really is. It smells
in
different.
Calais Campbell's case, going to the Falcons with Desmond Ridder at quarterback versus staying with Baltimore with a possibility of Lamar Jackson being your quarterback for a possible playoff run. I think if the money was equal, he'd stay in Baltimore. But I'm sure the Falcons gave him a much better deal. Ravens have a lot of young guys on that defensive line that can plug and play, and they'll miss a player in the locker room, but right player, right price. They've never gotten away from that motto, Ness.
That's a heavy price, by the way. I mean, for Calais Campbell. I mean,
oh yeah,
and he's a players association guy, right? He's a leader,
He
taking
is.
top of line money. He ain't winning the Super Bowl in Atlanta, which kind of shocked me at that point.
He's not. Yeah, I figure maybe you go to the Chiefs in the AFC, right?
He talked about the Bills.
The Bills, the Bengals. I mean, if I were him and I really wanted to play for less money, so it just goes to show you that at the end of the day, at 37 years old, money still matters to him. He has to take care of his family, and if he can get 2 or 3 million more out of the Falcons than he could at any of the from any of the aforementioned teams, of course, that's what he did.
Dennis, if that was testimony, I would convict you because you just said could have played for the Chiefs, could have played for the Bengals. I said the Bills. They're all places that are perceived as being a better place than here right now, right?
There's no question about that.
Well, there you go. So that would be my point is that nobody would ever outbid the Ravens in their day of you can come here and win Eric Weddle. You can come here and win Steve Smith. You can come here and win Kevin Zeitler. You can come here with whoever it is, right?
Well,
right
they also
now,
had a Super Bowl winning quarterback too.
They couldn't get Darius Slay, right?
But they had a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson, for all of his gifts, he's 1-3 in the playoffs, and you can't get around that. It's a fact. Not saying he can't turn it around at some point with the right pieces around him. It's fascinating what's going to happen, even if they don't get a proper trade offer from the Colts or someone else. He could be your starting quarterback in September, or he could sit out the season. This situation is still A to Z.
If he had an agent, and every conversation always begins with if he had an agent. If he had an agent, the minute he got hurt in November, the agent would have been on the front end of letting people know where his injury is, knowing his marketability. Had he not been in Cincinnati, and his agent would have said, you're getting on that plane and you're going to wave a towel. You're going to be the best towel waiver there's been in the state of Ohio 100%. That day. And when all this is over with, we're going to take you out and have multiple bidders. We're going to show them your knee. We're going to run you around. You're going to keep your mouth shut. You're going to do the right thing in case the Ravens are the highest bidder and they love you a long time. We already know they love you a long time. They offered you $150 million last year. Wasn't enough, fine, but don't piss with them. Now, instead, if an agent grabbed him right now, they would say, dude, you haven't played football in 2 years. Forget your dreams. Forget the statue in Louisville. That $133 million the Ravens offered, you crawl back to Owings Mills, and you never said any of this awful ish you've been saying and doing, because I never would have let you do that beginning in November, the minute you got hurt. And you wouldn't have to crawl over broken glass, but crawl back there, take their guaranteed $48 million a year over the next 3 years, get yourself back to the street. You think you're going to win a Super Bowl? You're cocky. Go win one. Go win one and come back here, and then we'll hold out on their asses, and we'll make them pay you $65 million. And by the end of the 5th year, you'll have $274 million in the bank because we'll negotiate it that way. So go play. But right now, you're worth what you're worth because you haven't played in 2 years, kid.
You think that offer's still there, Nestor?
probably is not.
Yeah, I think that
I
probably
think
walking
after
back a
last
bet.
Tuesday, the offer is John Harbaugh gets behind a door and said, "Dude, after all
Yeah,
I did for you, you did that for me. What? What?
yeah,
What? You know, they threw me out for doing nothing. I can't imagine with John Harbaugh, like how he feels about Lamar at this point for having baked that thing up last week. And John always has that lie. We're all guys. We all, yeah. Tell that to the old safety 10 years later still hates you. You know, like
yeah.
making friendships and really John Harbaugh is going to forgive me. I tell you what, John Harbaugh will never speak to me after the text after the Pittsburgh game when I told him Mike Tomlin beat him in the integrity department. I have a
Yeah, I'm
feeling
sure.
John's not never going to speak, and that's okay. I knew that when I
So it
sent
is
it.
okay.
It is okay because Mike does have more integrity than him. I talked to Mike last week, by the way.
Hey,
And so for
when people show
me,
you who they are, believe them. Right? But Maya Angelou said, when someone showed you who they are, believe them the first time. Just believe them.
I have it all in my phone, and one day it'll be public or it won't be, but I won't die with it not being public. So what happened to me? But I can only imagine how upset John is at what happened to him at that press conference last week. I
I'm
would think
sure.
on a personal
Oh,
level that
oh, I can see.
probably
I can see Lamar calling and nobody picking up. Did you tell him it's me? Yeah, I told him it's you. They're busy. Tell them I want the deal. They're still busy. I'm pretty sure
Dennis,
it'll be busy tomorrow and the next day and the next day. They're busy.
I talked to you about it on Thursday, and I was 72 hours removed. I'm a week removed now. There's code silence. There's going to be a liar's lunch, and John, Eric, they're all going to say the right things. I just saw that thing, and I have sat next to John for 18 years. I have been in that room. I know how John feels about the media and all the
Mm,
trick questions. I've seen it's ambush, right? Like he was ambushed.
he
That's
was.
the thing that
He was.
Chad Steele and all of them, they threw me out because I had real questions in real time. Like, you ran the ball 21 times today. Is that a good idea? John hates those questions. All of them, hates the media in general. And to be put in that situation in front of all the if I were a prick agent and I was telling him what he could do to make sure that the Ravens never had him back, I would put that high up on the list. I really
Yeah,
would.
for sure.
And especially for John, and knowing how John is, forgive and forget, never. I
No, which is why I think they're floating, bringing in Cam Newton, and he's probably not going to be the last name we hear connected to a starting position at quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens before this thing is over and done with.
I just hate to think that it could get uglier,
No, it's going
right?
to get uglier. I think it can.
Well, it gets uglier when the stories come out where Lamar says they didn't even give me the 133. They made an
Right.
offer, then they pulled it
Well,
back.
the other thing is the story's now getting pushed down, right? We just had March Madness, with WrestleMania, opening season, baseball. Life goes on, and this story's starting to get pushed down.
Well,
And the only way it's going to get resurface if he tweets out again, right? If he something inflammatory or whatever, or if the Ravens make a move of some type. But the story's it's getting pushed down finally.
last thing for you. You just said WrestleMania, and I think I alluded to this earlier. I don't know if you know this. I mean, you and I have been friends for 2 decades. You've supported my rate. Did you know that Stacy Keebler was an intern here for a good 2 years? Did you know that?
I did not know that. I knew she was a Ravens cheerleader because she stood out. She was very tall back in the day at the stadium, and I never knew she was an intern at WNST.
Her boyfriend at the time was a listener. She interned here, played bubble hockey here. You can go see it on YouTube. I'm going to share it this week, her stories. She did the show with me in '09 when she was like in the George Clooney. It was like that era of
Okay.
her life. She's been very quiet for years. I haven't heard from her, seen her, or anything. And now this WWE WrestleMania thing happened. And I know you, Luke, are all into it and whatnot. I love that they put her in. I mean, I just, I have all these old pictures of her at events. She is wearing a Get Nasty shirt, selling Get Nasty shirts at Whiskey Joe's with Bobby Nick. I have pictures of me, her, and Bobby Nick at Whiskey
That's
Joe's
crazy.
together.
There you go.
I have pictures of her on opening day at Camden Pub in 1999. Me, her, Keith Mills, Mark Messina, Dave Johnson doing live radio, Alan McCallum, Bobby Nick was there. Yeah, she was our WNST intern for years, and she's a Hall of Famer. Another
There
Hall
you
of Famer.
go.
We come from good
Another
stock around here, Dennis.
spawn from WNST. How about that?
I bet Coons
1570
Baltimore
AM.
Ford's never had a Hall of Famer in the WWE, or have they?
Nope. We've never created. We have some that look the part, but never played the part.
Well, you'd have that on the wall. You'd have a plaque on the wall if there
That's
were.
right.
Dennis
That's right.
Koulatsos has lots of plaques on the wall, including, I never do this for you, but some bird you up around professionally, and you started putting your professional toys
Yeah,
behind you.
yeah.
What do you got in your toy
Somebody
closet,
made a
bud?
comment about the store that I didn't take kindly, and I said, you know what? Let me just put some pelts up on the wall. That's all, and
What's
let
a
the pelts
President's
speak for
Award?
me.
What is a President's Award at Coons
That's
Baltimore?
being for tops in service, body shop parts, and sales. And then we have two Triple Crowns, which is like the Super Bowl. So we have 7 President's Awards and 2 Triple Crown Awards. So
What's that
again,
Premier Club? I see that over your shoulder. What's that?
that's top 10 store in finance out of 3,200 finance contracts in the nation. So yeah, I put up the awards just to let them speak for the store. And somebody made a in my circle, extended circle, put it to you that way, just to say, listen, sit down and shut up, right? And look, nobody cares about the awards. Only care that we care about the customer. And that's what we do around here. But these things we earned, and that's why they're up there. They're like Super Bowls.
I earned the Stan Pastorini jersey on the internet for $30, and it feels like a trophy to me.
There
But
you
I'll
go.
say this: I took Brian Billick a Lombardi trophy that I bought via China through Denver the year we won the Super Bowl 10 years ago, and I put it in a paper bag, and I told him I had a gift for him for 3 months, and this is when he lived on the Eastern Shore, and I told him I had a gift for him. And he was doing the NFL Network thing from his library, and other people, Gruden's on ESPN, he would have his trophy behind him and like all
Mhm.
that. And Brian didn't have a trophy. And
Ah,
I have a ring. Brian has like the ring. He would wear the ring and make Eagles fans look at it and Redskins fans and whatnot. So he didn't have a trophy, and I bought this thing for a couple $100. I had one of each.
nice.
I gave one to Kenny Ballgame. His mother has the Super Bowl 35 one. This or the 47 one. The 30 because I couldn't take it out. It's not licensed. If Kevin Byrne ever saw me at the barn with it, he would freak out. So and if it was in the radio, so either way, I put it in a paper bag. My cat actually cut her face on it at one point because it had a sharp bottom. But it's beautiful. It looks real. You know how real it looks? I took it to Brian. I was down in Ocean City, took it to his house, put it in a paper bag. His daughter and Kim were in the big house there. They came out in their pajamas. He held the trophy up. I swear to God, it was like a scene in A Christmas Story when the leg lamp came. He
Ah,
took it, he ran, and he wasn't showing off for me because he's never been like that. He's not performative in the least, Brian Billick, not with me. He was so excited, he almost cried. He took it into the study and had to have a place for it. So now when you see Brian on NFL Network,
very
the
nice.
trophy, it's just a thing I bought.
That's great. Hey,
But he can say I got pelts on the wall, you know?
he does have pelts on the wall, right? That's
So
like somebody coming to Brian saying, what have you done? And he just he just puts up holds up Silver Betty, right? Old Silver Betty, and say, here, this, yeah.
I just
You get
wanted
to
to
the point in
tell
life.
you that like when you see that,
Yeah,
that there's a
your
fun
your body
story
your
behind
body
every
of work your body of work speaks for itself. You don't have to do anything to anymore. You don't have to beat your chest. When like Michael Jordan said, when you're good, you tell people. When you're great, people tell you.
and when you're really great at women's basketball, you do this, I think, right?
You look, you earned it in a moment, and if you're good with it, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I
Don't
knew
let the other
Debbie, but
team
that's
beat
all
you.
right. I think she'll regret that later in life, but maybe not.
Yeah, look, you're 20-some-year-old caught up in a moment, right? So look, it's to me, it's the national champions, and that's what endures.
You want a backstory? Find out how she transferred out of Maryland. How about that? I mean,
I have a contact there. I know a couple of things about that, and
yeah, I bet you do. I bet it involves
they
money. And we used to
they
say that it would be like, now we're like, oh
well, that's
no, they had a pizza
and
shop down there, paid
it's
her
that
200
NIL,
a
man. That
play,
name, that name, image, likeness. It's a big deal with these young people, and it should be. It's look, they're getting paid.
All right. Well, we have Bayou Barbie. Now we'll have corn-fed Caitlin or something. I don't know. We're making stars. That's what I said to my wife. They're making stars out of these women. And the
Hey,
woman wearing the Ric Flair outfit, that's good for what they
it
need
is.
because
It's
the game's
entertainment.
good. The
It's
game's good.
entertainment. The games are good,
The,
and you
the
like that.
game's better than the NBA as a game if you sit and
Oh, it,
watch
it
it.
it really is. It's watchable with the NBA unless you get into the deep into the playoffs. It's unwatchable. I agree
All
with you
right.
there.
Well, Dawn Staley will get she'll get some sort of something to wear. Dennis
She will.
Koulatsos, he has a car you can drive for you over Coons Baltimore Ford. He will be here on Thursday, even though he'll be at opening day from 3 until 5. As always, Lamar Masters opening day. We're opening an arena in this city for the first time since 1961. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore positive, and it's a good week for that.